You mentioned that at 15 years old, you went to another country. My question is, what was it like a pinpoint maybe like for you where you navigated into adulthood? Because I feel that where I'm from, leaving the village is an initiation ritual also. So it's like, can you tell us the story of what moving away from your hometown did to you, and particularly what that chapter led you to?
I mean, it was really difficult. I was traveling back home every weekend, and everyone was confused. Like, why is Alex, you know, going home every weekend? Like, doesn't he appreciate this international environment? With all of these kids from all of these countries. And then one of the professors, 10 years later,
Where did you go to? From where to where, so people can understand the
from
story?
from uh, from Slovenia to Italy.
To Italy. Got it.
But then it's not that far, especially not for me. I didn't even, I mean, I knew it's an international school. I didn't know it's a boarding school. I thought I would be like doing a daily commute. And then I was like, oh, but I should stay there. Oh, what do you mean? Like stay there also over the weekends? Uh, um, so there was some, I was a little ignorant. Like my information was not based on like people who knew. My information was based on what I read in the newspaper. The It was very limited. Uh, but like 10 years after I left, right? Like one of the professors told me, Alex, only now I understand why you were going home every weekend to check email.
Um,
So like they were really confused. Like they thought, well, Alex is not a good fit. Maybe, we should give his scholarship to someone else because he's going home. He doesn't like this environment, right? And then they were like, oh, but Alex was going online, and um, and now we understand. It's funny, right? Like sometimes when you've got access to something new, when you can like work with certain tools and certain ideas, like people will um not understand you, will miscomprehend you. And only later in time they kind of realize, like, oh, now I understand what was going on. It was not him, it was me.
when you think of adulthood, what is the moment where you say like Alex transitioned from being a boy to being a man?
I you think I'm an adult yet? It's I might have like a particular version of imposter syndrome. Um, um, I mean, look, I I was gonna like I was making my own money when I was 12, 13. I was developing software. Um, I was like kind of um financially set when I was 12, right? Like I could earn my living when I was 12. I left home when I was 15. When I was 17, I had a job in Silicon Valley. Um, at like one of the core research labs where uh, you know Stephen Wozniak and Steve Jobs from Apple worked before they started Apple. Um, like people think they're going to be happy if they drive a sports car and have a private airplane. Well, when I was 17, I was driving around in a sports car and flying in private airplanes. Like I got this, materialist things out of my system very, very early.
Wow.
Right? Like I knew that people who have all of these things are not necessarily any happier or any better. Which was very liberating. I mean, it was very, very confusing to everyone else, right? Because I just wasn't interested in these things. They were like, Alex, so are you successful? Are you not successful? Like, I don't understand. You seem like you're successful, but you act like you're not successful.
Yes, Sun Tzu said like when your army is when your army is big, you want to appear small, and when your army is small, you want to appear big? Was there a hidden tactic behind this, or did you just feel that you, or how did you kept your feet on the ground? Because I feel wealth, power, prosperity are also great corruptional agents. How did you stay this down to earth kind of guy, or is this all an act? That's-
I'm really like I'm really not good at acting. I'm pretty straightforward. Um, but like I've always like tried to work on things that I thought were important, right? Like um I know if I told you that story, like, um so after I did that graphic standard uh like the PNG, right? Like then I was hired into Silicon Valley to make a proposal to JPEG, which became JPEG. Then I was working on a project that was later acquired by NVIDIA. Uh, and then I left because I had an investor that basically funded like a independent technology studio. And then then I had a bit of a crisis, right? Like I was doing all of these things, but like, what is reality, right? Like I wanted to kind of go and study and understand. So then I went and just studied, and I was in academia for a decade or so. Um, and out of that decade in academia came a couple of breakthroughs. For example, the technology where computers can come up with new concepts, where computers can come up with new words. Uh, and interestingly enough, like I was invited to give a talk in London, and there were like 6 people who came to my talk, and one of them was Geoffrey Hinton, who won the Nobel for physics less than a year ago, right? And his first deep neural network paper was published a few months after he came to my talk using the algorithm that I presented in that talk. Um, but I wasn't interested in like doing that at the time because I was concerned about the problem of information reliability. Like sometimes, we're sure, and sometimes we're not sure, and we try to work around this uncertainty over what is true and what is not true. So I spent another couple of years doing research on this question of probability. And out of that project came a software tool that has been used for at least 2 Nobel Prizes. Um, and then I was like, okay, but like internet is on a really bad track now. This was like 2007. Was like we're kind of going to the financial crisis that was never really properly addressed, and the internet was getting worse, right? And I thought, well, um I don't think the world is a peaceful place anymore. So one of the first American presidents, John Adams, he had this quote that I will kind of misrepresent, and it's like, I study strategy and war so that my children can then study mathematics and engineering, so my grandchildren can study art. Right? I realize like we're not in peacetime anymore. I cannot do philosophy and mathematics and so on. I need to go back to the fundamentals because like things are getting worse, and you cannot optimize for a peaceful world um, when you're in turmoil. So so basically that was my transition into like proper entrepreneurship, right? Like where you get out of the comfortable institutions, give up a steady paycheck and security and all of that, and basically go and live in the woods of whatever money you can earn. But
when
my
was
goal was not to to maximize my income, because like of what value is income when you get shot in a dark alley, right? My goal was to maximize the odds of survival of life.
Max